Inflation could become harder to manage in coming years. Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Rising trade barriers, aging population, a broad transition from carbon spewing fossil fuels to renewable energy. The prevalence of such a trend across the world could intensify global inflation pressures in the coming years and make it harder for the Federal Reserve and the other central banks to meet their inflation target. That concern was a theme sounded in several high-profile speeches and economic studies presented last week at the Fed's annual conference of central bankers in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. For decades, the global economy had been moving toward greater integration, with goods flowing more freely between the United States and its trading partners. Low-wage production overseas allowed Americans to enjoy inexpensive goods and kept inflation low, though at the expense of many U.S. manufacturing jobs. Since the pandemic, though, that trend had shown signs of reversing. Multinational corporations have been shifting their supply chains away from China. They are seeking instead to produce more items, particularly semiconductors, in the United States with the encouragement of massive subsidies by the Biden administration. At the same time, large-scale investment in renewable energies could prove disruptive, at least temporarily, by increasing government borrowing and the demand for raw materials, thereby heightening inflation. Much of the world's population is aging. The older people are less likely to keep working. Those trends could act as a supply shock, similar to the shortage of goods and labor that accelerated inflation during the rebound from the pandemic recession. The new environment set the stage for larger relative price shock than we saw before the pandemic. President of the European Central Bank said in a speech Friday, if we face both higher investment need and greater supply constraint, we are likely to see stronger price pressures in markets like the commodities, especially for the metals and the minerals that are crucial for green technologies. This would complicate the work of the ECB, the Fed, and other central banks whose mandate are to keep price increase in check. Nearly all central banks are still struggling to curb the high inflation that intensified starting in early 2021 and has only partly subsided.